Steel and sunrise. In New York City, the morning didn't begin with birdsong. It began with the hiss of buses, the rattle of subway tracks, and the quiet arithmetic of survival running through people's minds before their feet touched the floor. Mateo lived on the fourth floor of a walk-up in the Bronx. The radiator knocked, like it was asking permission to exist. His income was modest. Security shifts at night, courier work when he could get it. But his mindset was anything but small. He had learned early what the city demanded. Not optimism alone, not morality alone, but clarity. Machiavelli once wrote that the world is not as it should be, but as it is, and that those who survive learn to see it plainly. Mateo took this to heart. He did not curse the city for being hard. He studied it. On the streets, goodwill was currency, but reputation was capital. Mateo understood that being liked was useful, but being reliable was powerful. He showed up early. He kept his word. When he spoke carefully. In a city where people overpromised daily, consistency made him stand out quietly, like steel beneath concrete. He learned another lesson too. Control what you can, and don't romanticize struggle. Hustling wasn't noble by itself. It was simply necessary. Mateo saved aggressively, not because he was afraid, but because independence creates leverage. A small emergency fund meant he could say no when someone tried to exploit him. Freedom, even in inches, changed how people treated him. Machiavelli warned that fortune favors the prepared mind. Mateo believed this deeply. He didn't wait for motivation. He built systems. He read on the subway. He listened more than he talked. He learned how people with power actually made decisions, not how they said they did, but how they did when no one was watching. When opportunities came, they didn't announce themselves as miracles. They arrived disguised as extra responsibility, awkward conversations, and moments where fear whispered, "Stay where you are." Mateo moved anyway, but strategically. He never burned bridges unnecessarily. He never fought battles that cost more than they paid. Strength, he learned, was often restraint. The city tested him. Rent went up. Friends fell behind. Some shortcuts tempted him. But Machiavelli's hardest truth guided him. Short-term gain that destroys trust creates long-term weakness. Mateo chose patience. Not passive patience, but disciplined patience. The kind that sharpens skill while waiting. Years passed. He wasn't rich, but he was stable, respected, sought out. His mindset had become his fortress. The city still roared, still pushed, still demanded, but it no longer owned him. And each morning, as sunlight cut between buildings and touched the street, Mateo smiled, not because life was easy, but because he understood the game. In New York, with little money and heavy odds, a strong mindset isn't a luxury. It's the strategy that turns survival into progress. Steel and sunrise. Continued. The breakthrough. Stability gave Mateo something rare in New York. Mental oxygen. Once survival stopped screaming, strategy could finally speak. The breakthrough didn't arrive as a windfall. It arrived as a pattern recognition moment. During his night shifts, Mateo noticed how many small businesses needed security, deliveries, and overnight coverage, but hated dealing with flaky contractors. The city was full of demand, but starved of trust. That was the opening. Machiavelli would have called it understanding the terrain before moving troops. Mateo made a decision that changed everything. He stopped thinking like labor and started thinking like leverage. The desire that shifted his aim. Mateo's desire wasn't for luxury. It was for optionality. He wanted choices. That desire sharpened his focus. Instead of asking, "How do I make more money?" he asked, "How do I become harder to replace?" He invested in certifications that directly increased his perceived authority. Clean branding, simple uniforms, clear communication, punctual invoicing. Relationships, not networking. Remembering names, pressures, deadlines. Desire, he learned, is useless without direction. So he narrowed his field until his energy stopped leaking. Dedication in motion, not motivation. Matteo's dedication looked boring from the outside. It was saying no to quick cash that distracted from long-term positioning, reinvesting profits instead of upgrading lifestyle, tracking every expense like it was a vote for his future. Machiavelli taught that fortune is like a river, violent when unprepared, manageable when guided. Matteo prepared relentlessly. He built redundancy. He trained two others before he needed them. He documented processes. Power, he realized, comes from not being the bottleneck. The breakthrough moment. One winter, a property manager called. A contractor had vanished mid-contract. Matteo stepped in, not as a worker, but as a solution. He handled staffing, scheduling, and accountability. He charged more than he ever had before and delivered without drama. That single contract became proof. Proof changed perception. Perception changed pricing. Pricing changed Matteo's life. From stable to lucrative, principles he lived by. Matteo never confused luck with mastery. He extracted lessons from the breakthrough. 1. Authority beats effort. People don't pay more for harder work. They pay for reduced risk. 2. Control the frame. He stopped asking for opportunities and started offering outcomes. 3. Visibility matters after competence. Once his systems worked, he let people see them. 4. Detach ego from growth. He hired help even when it bruised his pride. 5. Protect reputation like a balance sheet. One careless move could erase years of trust. The new hustle. Matteo still lived in New York. The city hadn't softened, but his position had strengthened. He moved differently now. Slower. More intentional. He understood Machiavelli's quiet truth. Power doesn't announce itself. It stabilizes itself. Lucrative wasn't about excess. It was about command. Over time, over decisions, over direction. And as the city burned its neon through the night, Matteo smiled again. Not because he had escaped the hustle, but because he had mastered its rules and bent them patiently in his favor.